Good day, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I'm your host, the Voice of Reason. So in this episode, we're going to be discussing the recent comments coming out of Armenia about the Russian Iskander tactical ballistic missile system, the Stone system. So again, recently, just within the last 24 hours, our Armenian leadership has been in a bit of a tisk over the use of the Iskander in terms of should it have been used sooner in its conflict with Azerbaijan? Was it used properly? Should it have been used against oil and gas facilities inside of Azerbaijan, which it was not? And one of the leaders of the Armenian side has stated that the success rate of the Iskander system was about 10%. That 10% exploded. Now that's an interesting statement because we don't really know how many Iskanders were launched at targets inside of Azerbaijan. There are some video footage of at least 2 being fired, and obviously the system can fire 2 missiles per launcher. So if only 10% of the missiles exploded, I mean that obviously would have to mean that at least 10 missiles were fired at targets. 10 Iskander missiles were fired at targets inside of Azerbaijan, and I'm not sure that occurred. Could have, but are we misinterpreting what this Armenian leader said? Could he have meant that maybe when the missile hits the target that it is about 10% of the explosive power? Could he have meant that? And that may make a little bit more sense in terms of how many were actually fired versus that discrepancy of the only 10% actually explode. And the reason I say that is maybe there was a software issue, there was some kind of technical issue that was causing the warhead not to detonate, but the existing solid rocket fuel inside of the system would obviously explode. So could these missiles just have been interpreted as not having that much power because the actual warhead didn't explode and they were getting the explosion from the actual solid rocket fuel, which would make sense because the distances at which they were using the Iskander definitely was not to the maximum distance that the system could be launched. So it makes for a interesting conversation. It is a interesting controversy because the Iskander is a system that is I would say that is feared by NATO. It is a system that NATO believes can hit targets very precisely across many parts of Europe. And for instance, we know there are Iskander systems inside of Kaliningrad, which would give the Russians the ability to very precisely hit targets in Warsaw and hit targets in eastern Germany. So if there is a success rate, if there is an issue with the actual warhead exploding, that's a fairly serious issue. So Russia normally has 12 Iskander launchers per regiment, which can fire 24 Iskanders, and they also can fire a cruise missile variant as well that has a non-ballistic profile. When the Iskander itself is a semi-ballistic profile, but again, a very fast, high Mach system that's hard to shoot down. That packs a big explosive warhead. But if they're not exploding, if something is going on internally, and that quite could be the case, I doubt the Armenians practice with the system much and probably have not had the ability to test fire their systems as much as the Russians had, so maybe they were doing something wrong. It's highly likely that was occurring. We also have seen cases such as the Falklands War where Argentinian systems failed to detonate on British ships, such as the Exocet. There were some issues with those systems not exploding. There was issues with even the dumb bombs being released too low and failing to explode. So could that be a case of what occurred inside of Armenia with its use of the Iskander system?